Welcome to another episode of the Less is More Sports podcast. Matt is on a bye week, but I'm sure as avid followers of this podcast know, Dwayne Miller is back on the show, who the last appearance he was on here made one of the hottest takes you'll hear in baseball, that Ichiro was a better hitter than Pete Rose. You know what? I'm not mad at it. Actually a pretty nice take. I'm not going to lie. And I think we both, him and I, came into the middle ground that I agree with him that Ichiro was a better player than Pete Rose. We just disagree on who was the better hitter. But anyways, without further ado, DJ, welcome back to the show. How's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. It's going pretty good. You know, living through life, college student now, going through life.
I know. And also to the followers, I can't stress this enough. You saw him here first on the Less is More Sports podcast, because the next time you see DJ Miller, he's not going to be just some casual on the show. He's going to be DJ Miller, MLB player, making another appearance on the show. So just watch out for that.
We're hoping for it.
I got to speak it into his existence. But I have DJ on the show with me today because DJ obviously is a very good baseball player, and I need a baseball player's mindset for this episode of the podcast. And we're going to talk about the World Series. But before we get into that, as you can see, DJ's repping his Yankees jersey. I'm repping my Cardinals jersey. We both had very disappointing postseasons.
Very disappointing, but it's good for overall for the sport.
It is. I will say though, at least you all didn't lose off a walk-off hit to the coldest batter in the lineup.
Yeah, that is very true. That is very true. We just had cold bats. We were the cold bats going out that night. It was an awkward moment watching Giancarlo and Rizzo, who had been cold the whole week prior. They were the two guys that were getting it going. Aaron Judge had a little glimpse, but he couldn't. They wouldn't even throw him a ball in the strike zone. So
I feel like it was quite a matchup to see Giancarlo and the Green Monster go head to head. That was probably the most entertaining matchup of that game for me.
Oh yeah, like I don't know what it is about. I'm excited like for next year now because I'm like this. He's starting to really create the history of being good at Fenway, and I'm like this. All right, let's just get some other players that can hit along with him, because if he can have more games like that at Fenway, I'm very excited for the future.
I want the fans to remember what DJ just said right there, because I feel like that's going to be a very pivotal point of the podcast towards the end, but we won't get into that right now. What we will get into is that congratulations to the Atlanta Braves for beating the Houston Astros in the 2021 World Series. As most of you all know, this is the first World Series for the Braves since 1995. So DJ, how much does this mean to the city of Atlanta?
City of Atlanta, I mean, it's been a long time coming for them. You think about the Falcons, the Georgia Bulldogs. Say a lot of their sports teams really just made a name for being choke artists, and a lot of people when it was going on were talking about, oh well, they'll choke it away at some point. I remember what was it, 2 years ago they choked away a postseason lead that they had in the was it the divisional series?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, they choked it away there, and people were making fun of them for that. So it was good to see them finally redeem it. And then against the, I'm just gonna say the hot take, they're the most hated sports team in America today, the Houston Astros. Like, it was literally, I can't even say the city of Houston versus everybody, because I feel like even the people in the city of Houston, not even all of them, still like the Astros. And it was just great to watch them after their whole Darth Vader revenge tour lose and come up short.
And there were so many storylines that came out of this World Series, DJ. Obviously, they were below 500 heading into the All-Star break at 44 and 45. Sometimes in sports, it's not always let me rephrase that. It's usually a mixture of, it's either one of two things. It's either you make changes and you do something different, or you don't really necessarily make changes, but everything starts to click. If you had to guess, did the Braves make changes, or did some things just start to click for them?
I think it's so much more of who they got and for what they got him for. Because I know you probably didn't know Soler too much when you might have actually known him. Actually, now that I think about you did know Soler, 48 home runs, 2019 season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 2019 season, of course, the pandemic season, of course, a lot of people had make or break years in just the 60 games, really hard to get it going. But Soler is an all-star. And that I knew that immediately when they got him. I was like, okay, well, they got an all-star. He's not gonna have the same batting average as Acuna, who went down with a broken leg. But I mean, he's gonna hit more home runs, and he's gonna drive in about the same amount of runs. So I was like, that was a very, very, very big deal. Getting Jock Peterson, getting Duvall was huge. Uh, and like, guys like that, getting those all stars to below all star level players that can easily produce, and then just getting them in the right spots to where they can show off their skills. Because when they came in, it was just kind of like free reign to, we're all trying. Everybody was definitely working towards a goal to try and save the season, but everybody around them kind of felt like, oh, well, they're just the Braves. They're just, an easy pick off. They're not going to really try to win too many games. And then you see right in September, they're sneaking in right to a playoff spot and just battling in, getting in the playoffs with the worst. Yeah, they had the worst record in the postseason and ended up winning the World Series. And I think, what was it? I remember someone said it, the Twins were the only team ever to ever have a worse record than they did when winning the World Series. Just so much going into that, so much mentality in the locker room, showing up day to day, and just Soler showing what he did. I mean, he's showing that he's going to be all eyes on him next season. Is he going to be an all-star? Is he going to be a superstar?
I think you alluded to it perfectly. I mean, anytime you lose a superstar like Acuna, I mean, obviously there starts to be some doubt. But they went out and got three very good names in Jock Peterson. Of course, the name I don't think you alluded to yet, Adam Duvall, who was huge, absolutely huge for them in the postseason. And of course, like you alluded to, Soler being an all-star. So they really, it's hard to say you can replace someone like Acuna, but I mean, they fit three guys pretty much in that outfield with his absence. And they really all played pivotal roles. But interestingly enough, I was looking at a stat before we actually got onto this podcast, and we all know, and as you know, baseball is, if any sport at all, does like to play into little superstitions at certain points. Yeah. And what's ironic enough is that this was the year that Braves legend Hank Aaron passed away.
Right.
And what interesting thing that I saw was that the Braves won 44 wins prior to the All-Star break. They won 44 wins after the All-Star break. And they won the World Series in the 44th week of the year. Isn't that kind of a crazy coincidence there?
Yeah, that is. Yes, yeah, with Hank Aaron too. Like that's funny. Wow. I didn't know it was all those 44s in there. Wow.
Hank Aaron's just leaving his mark on the Braves, even through the grave. You love to see it though. But yeah, what also was a great moment for me is that, you have Freddie Freeman, who's been with the organization since 2007. You have Dansby Swanson, who's an Atlanta native. And what I absolutely loved about the World Series is that the final out was a ground ball from Swanson to Freddie Freeman. And it's stuff like that is just what makes you love the postseason and love baseball.
See, what a lot of people probably won't feel that. I mean, a lot of that aren't Atlanta natives that I felt watching Dansby, getting to be, the hometown kid, getting to watch him show out when he's never really known for his bat. It's always his glove. And it's funny, they even booted one in the World Series too. What, he booted two? But just watching him get to have some big at bats, like was it game 4? Or is it game 4 or game 5 when he had the big home run, and then again went deep again in game 6. Yeah, no, so yeah, seeing him do that was awesome to watch.
Yeah, and then just taking it through the whole postseason run as a whole. When they matched up against the Brewers, being a fan of an NL Central team, the Brewers had the third best pitching team in baseball behind the Giants and the Dodgers. But one thing that is very consistent about them is that if you can actually score a couple runs on them, you always have a good chance. So with the Braves having that pop in the lineup, I knew they had a good chance against them. But when they matched up against the Dodgers, anyone who follows the podcast knows the Dodgers were my pick to win the World Series. What did the Braves do, DJ, against the Dodgers that allowed them to get to the World Series?
See, my thing is a lot of people don't like this. I always say that pitching is is the only thing that will ever win that'll ever win a postseason run. And it's the only thing, and it'll lose it right there real quick. And I can't remember what's the name of the catcher for the Dodgers. What's his name?
Will Smith.
Yeah, Will Smith. I blame him. It's all his fault, and the fact that pitch selection and calling, I put it all on him with the pitch select. In 2 games, I watched him call multiple breaking balls in a row that ended up leading into extra base hits. And that right there tells me that he was looking at the scouting report and he saw that Soler, because it was Soler that he threw a bunch of breaking balls to Soler. And he thought that just because Soler has probably hit, I don't know, his MLB career, 90 home runs off of breaking pitches, I guess he thought the Dodgers pitchers were just built different.
Mm-hmm.
That's on you. Throwing breaking balls to guys who hit breaking balls, like even in the World Series, the curveball, I'll say probably the best home run of the year. That was only one ball I've ever seen go farther. Only one farther at that park was by your guy Albert Pujols. Soler's got pop. You're throwing them loopy curveballs. You're throwing those guys loopy curveballs. They're gonna hit them, and that also goes into the pitchers leaving balls in the middle of the plate. But pitch selection really ruined 2 of their games, and that's what ultimately lost them their chance at the World Series. And then hitting wise, going against their pitchers, these are MLB guys. You got, as long as the guys are hitting their spots, everybody's tough to hit. Mm-hmm. And then it was just too much of they were hitting their spots, which is of course what you got to do. Dodgers were not able to get the bats on the ball. I think, was it game 2 they struck out like 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah, they you can't be striking out, and that's what's gonna end up losing you series right there. Like, because they go quick. It's not who's the better team, it's who's gonna execute, and that's exactly what Atlanta Braves did.
I mean, that's a perfect example. I mean, you have the team with one of the worst records to finish the regular season winning the World Series, because baseball proves time and time again that it's not always the best team. Sometimes it's the hottest team, or the team, like you just said, is executing at the right times. But it was very interesting when you said that you put the series on Will Smith. I was like, dang, you're going to blame the whole series on one player. But then when you say that, that makes sense, though, because if you're going to continue to call the same pitch to a guy like Soler, like, as we both agree, has a lot of pop in that lineup. And if you're just going to let him, he's just going to swing away, and then it's going to leave the park. And even with all the new shift rules and all that stuff, none of that's going to help if it's leaving the park. So definitely very good take on that one. And so let's fast forward to, I know you loved watching this World Series just because I noticed how much you love to root against the Astros. But as a baseball fan, where did they separate themselves from the Astros in this series?
The biggest point where they separated themselves was they didn't make the small. They did make the small mistakes, but the Astros also made small mistakes, but they never let their small mistakes turn into something big. Like in Game 6, when I was watching it, they had the ground ball to Freeman, and they had running to first. Routine play to the pitcher. He misses the bag, and he got his ankle stepped on by I can't remember who was running. And then and they have one out, guys on first and second. Next batter strikes out. The next batter grounds out. You go to the 3rd inning where Soler goes to the Soler Magic. I think it was they had him 2 strikes, and then Garcia leaves a fastball right down the middle. And let's say, I can't remember his name, but able to get a smack on it. Just a swing of desperation, gets through a hole. Now he's on first. Very next batter strike him out. Then I think they got a fly out. Then they 2-out walk. And then now you got first and second, and then you hang a curveball right down the middle of the plate. Now 450 feet later, this 3-0, and it's like those matter. And then you go later in the game, guy on first, and then Freddie Freeman hits a ball. I mean, a tough ball to judge. I'll give him that. It's a very tough ball to judge, but it comes off the wall, and now every ball skipping around, people running around for it in the outfield. He's getting, I think, yeah, he got a double, or was it a triple? I think he got a double,
It was a
and
double.
yeah, runner scores from first, and it's like, and now you're losing the lead, like game's falling away from you just off of, and like that takes a toll on you when you're out there in the infield. You're seeing a ball that hangs up in the air for roughly 8 seconds, and then you see it come down, and now everybody's chasing the ball, and it weighs on the pitcher's mind, where it's, especially because he just came into the game. That's tough. That's tough. You feel like those are balls that should be caught or should be at least played better, and that matters.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to take it to the three players that really stepped in for Acuna with the acquisitions heading post July. You look at guys like Soler, you look at guys like Jock Peterson, who were both on teams that just had absolutely no shot to make the playoffs. What does this do for, as a player yourself, what does this do for a player's morale going forward to go from the opportunity of playing on a team that had no shot to make the playoffs to now winning the World Series?
It matters dramatically, and it's so much of like, now other teams are going to be sitting there on the cusp. Guys like your Cardinals, teams like, I'm trying to think who else will probably be looking, like the Padres. They're going to be looking around the league at guys who were performing near an all-star level, like, but they may have, like, say, like, I know that there's somebody on the Diamondbacks who's showing out. There's somebody on the Miami Marlins who are out there putting up some good numbers, but they look at him and they're like this, well, his OPS is really high, but if you look at his fielding percentage, it's kind of low. And it's like, you know what I mean? You can build him up with you getting a guy like that, trading for someone like that with another guy who's a good fielder. You just made with that accusation, you just made now an all-star. Like, you just got a superstar. You get a good fielder and a guy who can hit like that. And it's about combining player skill level, where if you combine all three of the guys that the Braves picked up, you got somebody better than Acuna Jr. Stuff that he can't all do. He doesn't have the pop of Soler. He even though he's got a great arm, Duvall has a fantastic arm. He's a great fielder, always in the right spot. Jock Peterson, the veteran age of that, like of being on the Dodgers for so long, being around the locker room presence, like Acuna Jr., they covered everything he could possibly do with three players, and that's fine. They didn't go out and try to get one person to replace Acuna Jr. They got people that could do everything that he could do. And that really matters.
Absolutely. And I'm going to be really careful how I word this next question, because obviously every World Series win is memorable. But you go back to the World Series win in 1995 for Braves fans, and of course you had so much nostalgia on that team. You had legendary manager Bobby Cox. You had, Braves legend Chipper Jones, and of course you had an absolute trio, three-headed monster on the mound, all with Braves legends John Smoltz, Tom Glavine, and Greg Maddux. How does this World Series stack up as far as Braves nostalgia for Braves fans? Does that make sense, or like did I word that horribly?
So I'm not sure if it'll give them that same legendary players, because I mean that's a fantastic lineup that they had, fantastic team. If you go back, I of course wasn't alive then, but I did look at, with that kind of team and with the kind of roster they had, they were a highly ranked team in that season, and it felt like we should win this World Series. If you go into probably 2 months into this season, Braves I counted them out. I wasn't even watching them anymore. I was like, well, Braves done. I was like, one less team the Yankees got to worry about. Braves are gone. And it's just one of those things where I'm like, well, and I was thinking, I was like, this is pretty much, because that's when the Giants really started to jump out immediately. They never really lost that. the Dodgers were struggling. I was like, yeah, the Dodgers would pick it back up. But I mean, the Giants, I was like, that's going to be the team, I guess. I was like, that's going to be the team to watch out for. Like, they're probably going to run through the National League. And you see it, they end up losing in the first round, like controversially, but they ended up falling short. And it's one of those things where it's like I know the people probably in the organization, they never gave up on themselves, but a lot of the fans probably started to give up and then came back around in September. And now they're seeing something where they never thought that this would happen. So not so much in this nostalgic feel. They're probably going to feel that, oh, you know what? This team was like that. They're going to get that feeling of, you know what? This was special. This felt like I was watching a movie happen. Because I'll tell you right now, this is a movie I'm going first day on the box office. Because it sounds like a movie. It sounds like Major League, like real life Major League, the movie. Because you're not supposed to be able to do this. Like, this isn't something you're supposed to be able to do. A star player goes down like midway through the season. You're almost a laughing stock of your division. Like, you're not supposed to come back, and that's what they were able to do.
I think you alluded to it perfectly. I actually loved your answer, and I think another thing that's going to be very remembering for Braves fans, as Bean once makes his annual appearance on the show. He always loves to steal the show from me. I don't know why. I mean, everything I do, he wants a part of it. He's a ball hog. Kind of like who he's named after. Come on, Kobe, pass the ball. Jesus. Anyways, but I think what's going to be very remembering for Braves fans is this is going to be that World Series that they were able to deliver to a longtime player within the organization that's been the face of the franchise, and Freddie Freeman,
right?
Who here is and fans, now that you're still being that the fans listening are still with us, this is going to be probably the biggest question that I asked DJ, because I've been hearing this a lot on social media and a lot around baseball talk. Do you see Freddie Freeman in a Yankees uniform?
I really thought I'd see him in a Yankee uniform this year. When we picked up Anthony Rizzo, I didn't know it was Anthony Rizzo at first. My dad just sent me a text and said, y'all got you a new first baseman. I really thought it was Freddie Freeman. I was jumping up for joy. And to find out that it was Anthony Rizzo, I'm like, well, I can't be mad. I was like, those they're two players that they're very similar. What they bring in with the glove and hitting. It's just Anthony Rizzo's been a champion before, and that's the only difference really between them. And now there's no difference. I see those two as two guys who were battling for the crown every year, is who's kind of top dog first baseman, not so much as, oh, who's going to put up the best stats, but like for guys that you want on your roster, like those are the two guys that I've always thought of. And I think now the stock dropped from what it was to being about 40% to now being about 5%. I think he's going to end up being a lifer in Atlanta.
I think with the World Series, I agree 100%. I think with the World Series, I think that's cemented his Atlanta legacy. I don't think he's leaving now unless something drastically happens within the next couple of years.
Now.
Yeah. So now we're wrapping up a lot of the topics right now, but this is going to be my favorite questions to ask you, because now I'm forcing you to talk about the Astros, that team that you love so much. Anyways, me and my co-host Matt, during this World Series, kind of made this connection that this could be a chance for these Astro players to show that they didn't need to cheat to win that World Series. And if you go back with that 2017 World Series, those core group of guys, they're all but about out from Houston about now, because in fact they've already lost the arms of Verlander and Cole. Carlos Correa is, look as a free agent this offseason. He's looking for a new contract. Gurriel is a free agent in 2023, and then Altuve and Bregman are free agents in 2025. Was this the last chance that the Astros had to prove that they didn't need to cheat to win a World Series?
See, I don't think it was so much that bothered me was that they didn't need to cheat to win a World Series. It was the fact that they were a legit team that cheated and won a World Series. Because I felt like they definitely have talent on their roster. They have talent all through up and down the roster. But the problem is, it's like it'd be like finding out for like in the NBA. Like I'm gonna compare it to like say if you found out that the Nuggets cheated and ended up getting to the NBA Finals, and it's like the Nuggets are a legit team. Like
Mhm.
at any given year, I mean, one good game here and there in the world, like they're going to be in the NBA Finals. Like one good game, like a couple good runs, probably a couple of players, couple of bench players get hot, they could be in the NBA Finals easily. Like it could happen. Like it wouldn't be too much out of a realm of possibility. Just like the Astros getting to the World Series, it's not out of the realm of possibility. They're definitely able to do it. It's the fact that they're a team like that and they cheated. Like you're a team that already has the chance to do it, and now you cheated and won. I don't like that. That's
I always feel like cheating is so much more taboo in baseball than it is with any other sport. And because I go into, you look at football and it's kind of more like the old Al Davis mindset, just win, baby, win. And sport I played growing up, basketball. You have the fans talking about refs rigging games and all that stuff, but as far as like cheating, the cheating scandals are are kind of at a minimum. So, as a baseball player, what is your take on why it's more taboo to cheat in baseball than maybe any other sport out there?
see, because I mean, everybody's very much so in baseball, you want to get a little bit of an edge over the competition any way you can.
Mm-hmm.
But you do it in between the lines. And when I say in between the lines, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you untie somebody's shoelaces or something like that. But you try to, in the game, you try to pick up what you can. Like if you feel like you got to read on someone's signs, when the base coach is giving signs out if they're going to steal or not, that's an advantage. Or, when they're going to bunt, that's an advantage. When the guy's on second base and he's giving signs to the batter of where the catcher's setting up, that's an advantage because now I'm pressuring the pitcher and the catcher. That's things that are in the game. That's things that you definitely have to be aware of. That's part of the game. That's things everybody can take advantage of. But it's so much to where the fact of it is though that the point of baseball is if you tell me someone's gonna throw a fastball to me, I'd be in the MLB right now. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying I'm be Mike Trout, but if I knew every time a fastball or a breaking ball was coming,
Right. It's an advantage.
I,
Yeah.
I'm like this. I have enough power now where I'm like this. I have power the MLB players have
Mm-hmm.
already. I'm like this, and I just got to time it up. Okay, that's easy. Like now, when I face a pitcher that doesn't throw anything above 94, I'm teeing off. Like every at bat, I'm like, this is easy. Because at least when someone's still throwing 98, you still gotta, you still gotta catch up to it, and they're not always gonna be that accurate. So it gives that at least that little bit. I mean, there's a bunch of starting pitchers that still throw 93 and have a lot of breaking balls, but they'll still throw that fastball to try and rack up strikes. And I just gotta wait for them to throw a fastball to rack up a strike. I'm teeing off.
Right.
And that's a huge unfair advantage. It'd be like knowing every single play or roughly what play everybody's going to run in football. It's like that's just not right. If I know everything the offense is going to try to do or whatever the defense is going to try and do every single time, it's very much an unfair advantage because they don't have that same thing for you. They don't know what you're doing. So it's to me, like it's not so much that it's just cheating in a word. You are rigging a game. Like and
Mm-hmm.
just like and you go back to the World Series back, and that's why I feel like it really originates from the World Series that the White Sox rigged. You know what I mean? Like and they lost it on purpose. It's just baseball's supposed to be the clean America's game where it's like you don't ruin it. You get paid more to play baseball if you're a superstar there. The endorsements are huge. They don't restrict anybody's contracts. Teams can pay players whatever they see fit. And it's so much of the allure of baseball. You're your own celebrity in your own world. And now that basketball is getting there too, like basketball is really much getting there, people are cracking down on a lot of things, and a lot of players are being scrutinized for a lot of things. But baseball has just been that way longer, so it's just more apparent.
It's funny. DJ says all this, but I do want to point out he is a Patriots fan, ironically enough. I had to throw the dig in there somehow. I had to
And
look for a way.
I agreed that Spygate was terrible. Spygate was wrong. Even though I do feel like other teams are doing it too, but we got caught, so we're wrong. We're 100% in the wrong. Got to do better, especially if you're gonna make sure you're not gonna get caught.
Mm-hmm.
If you're gonna do something like that, but it's still gay. I will say it's definitely an unfair advantage, but it didn't guarantee wins. It didn't guarantee games. The Astros ruined careers. Darvish was on his way to having $100 million paycheck and $100 million to $150 million paycheck. He was going to be up for a contract. It was his contract year with the Dodgers. He just brand new. He was going to be up for next contract. And then he goes in 2 innings, gives up 7 runs. Changed his whole life. Then he gets a poo contract the next year, tries to rechange his whole form because he thought that people could read his fastball. So he changes his whole pitching form. Can't throw anything more than 91 when he was throwing 94 before. And now he's nowhere to be found in the league. He's in the minors, I think, still struggling, or I think either he's in the minors or he went back overseas and he's playing. So yeah,
That's an interesting point, because I always thought of Spygate and sign steal gate is very similar. But I mean, you bring up someone like you, Darvish. I mean, I get kind of what you're saying with that too, and I think it also just goes back to, I mean, there's the 2 rules about cheating. Nobody cares if you don't win, and nobody cares if you don't get caught. Because if you don't get caught, we don't know that you're doing it. So, I mean, obviously that's why it's more taboo that the Patriots got caught. Not to mention the Patriots, like the Astros, were winning at a very high rate during the Spygate. They won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. As the Astros, they won a World Series with the sign steal gate. Because I'm going to throw it back to you, and you may be too young to remember this, but this isn't the first time that we've seen a team, steal signs.
Right.
Not to mention, it's not the first time we've seen a team steal signs in the state of Texas. In the early to mid 2000s, the Texas Rangers were doing it, but obviously the Texas Rangers weren't making playoffs. So what did it really help? Not really. I think their biggest win accomplishment in that season was that they won like 10 or 15 straight games, which I think it was more 10. 15 would have been like, whoa. But that was back when Mark Teixeira and Michael Young were on the team. But obviously a team that, probably wasn't even going to get out of the AL West, nobody cares. But a team that wins the World Series, okay, now we got a problem. And despite, like you said, they have, and I think you worded it perfectly, they have the talent that they didn't need to cheat, and they probably still could have won the World Series. I mean, their hitting lineup was absolutely loaded. They played very good defense. And, of course, anytime you have a pitching rotation with Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole, I mean, good luck.
Right, yeah. It was just no need. It was no need for them to, to cheat to that degree.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just wrong. That's the and then the Patriots, I will say Deflategate was a little ridiculous at how out of proportion it got blown.
I agree.
Yeah, it was very, very much in a blowout game, and I think they had a fit of football for 3 possessions. When they went 42-7, I mean, and you are a Colts fan. A lot of Colts fans and a lot of other football fans were blowing that way out of proportion, asking for things that, how are they still gonna? Because everybody that is involved in decision making knows that it did not affect that game in that way. It did not finish that game. The Patriots, they did nothing to stop any. I say Gronkowski had a legendary game that day. I think Tom.
Peyton was on the Broncos then.
Yeah, I say Tom threw for what, 360 that day or something like that.
Well, I think I don't think really Tom had a big game. It was LeGarrette Blount is who had a big game. I think he had 4 touchdowns on the ground and over 200 yards rushing. But I think Colin Kaepernick tweeted it right after the game. Well, not after the game, after all this broke out, and he said, "Look, at the end of the day, LeGarrette Blount could have ran through some of those running lanes with a beach ball, and nobody was going to do anything because I mean." At the end of the day, the Colts couldn't stop the run. And yes, deflating the ball, did it make it a little easier to hold on to? Yeah, sure. But still, as far as deflating footballs goes, I mean, that had nothing to do with the running lanes that the Patriots offensive line was able to create against our defensive line. And that's essentially where we lost the game. And of course, we all know the Patriots defense always seems to own the Colts in a lot of games over the from the 2000s to the 2010s. We went as a Colts fan. I know before any other Colts fans come at my neck, yes, I do remember the times we were able to best the Patriots. But, the Patriots defense always seems like just as a Colts fan, this might be biased, that they always seem like they played their best game against us. But of course, you're playing against Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck. That's the game you want to show up to as well.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's a little different because with the Patriots cheating scandal, Spygate is the one that stands out to me. At the time, I was a young Colts fan in college, so it made me more upset at the time. But as I, got older, became a sports writer, it's more like, okay, it really didn't impact the game at all. So since I became more realistic about sports takes and kind of stopped letting my heart speak for my sports takes, or stopped getting overly emotional about my sports takes. Yeah, I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, no, I only get emotional on one baseball take, and I'm pretty sure you can guess who it's about.
It's not the Ichiro one, is it?
No. Jose Batista.
Oh, yeah.
Never deserved any of that recognition he was getting. He was a bottom tier player who just hit the right home runs. I can't believe he actually accomplished that. He was hitting at the right moments. And I for the life of me, when you bat 260 and hit like 35 home runs, everybody talked about him like he should be the MVP of the league like every other year. And I was like, no, just no.
It is funny though how like you said, he was an average player at best, and all of a sudden for like 3 seasons hits close to 50 home runs, and it's like, some people are accusing him of taking roids, but at the same time it's like roids don't do that. That's a little. Yeah. I think he just had 3 really good seasons, and that's kind of the type of sport baseball is. You can have an all-star caliber season one season and then you're in AAA the next. So I mean, it's the uncertain. That's what's so exciting for me about baseball is the uncertainty of it.
Right. Yeah. Because it's just like so much of just with Giancarlo Stanton on paper. If you look at on paper, Giancarlo Stanton should technically be. Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge should be the 2 best players in baseball. Like if you look at them on paper, if you look at what they're capable of, say another guy like let's say for a while, Buster Posey should have been undisputably the best player in baseball just off of paper of what he was able to produce in a game. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I think he had the best pop time for a little bit there. They had considered him the smartest catcher with calling games. They were articles about that. I remember seeing that he was. I know Yada and Molina. I know you're bothered by that, but because he caught the most perfect games. Oh, he's the best pitch caller in baseball. When you have Madison Bumgarner and Tim Lincecum in their prime, I don't know. I thought that was the reason, but people said otherwise, that it was Buster Posey, and then you look at what he's able to do with like his legs too as well, like on the base, and then creating diversions. And they said, oh, when he was playing and he would get on second base, he could figure out in 2 pitches, like they would say, in sometimes 2 pitches, he could figure out what the pitch sequence was and could tell the batter. So I mean, they were like, oh, guys like that should be the best player, but you know what I mean. I don't think he ever won MVP or even like finished top 3 in voting. Like, and then you got Judge, physical, absolute monster, just monster. Him and Stanton, just 2 monsters where I'm like this. Their arms, they can throw a baseball over 100 miles per hour. Judge has got great speed. His exit velocity is like 120. I'm like, on paper, and he can hit for average, just because he barely swings at the baseball. It's like guys like that should be so much better than everybody else in the competition. But then you got guys like Jose Altuve winning out MVP over Aaron Judge. And it just reminds you that it's all about executing on the field. You can be anybody. It's all about executing.
I think there is something to be said for, and not to get completely off topic, but it was, it's a point that you made about Buster Posey being able to call the best pitches. And I think there is something to be said for that because, since Buster Posey, started playing, started suiting up for the Giants. Oh, wow. I almost made a big mistake there and said he played for his arch rivals. But anyways, ever since he has suited up for the Giants, I can't remember a time where the Giants didn't have a good pitching staff. I remember when they had like Madison Bumgarner, Tim Lincecum, and guys like that. But then I also remember I remember Barry Zito. I think he caught for Barry Zito at the tail end of his career. And people will forget Randy Johnson won his 300th game with the Giants, and I believe Buster Posey caught that game. I could be wrong there, but I'm pretty sure. But I can't remember a time where the Giants didn't have a good pitching staff, and that's with or without any of these guys. So I think there's a lot to be said that Buster Posey does impact that. But of course, we all know that I'm a Cardinals fan of a team that had an MLB record 5 Gold Glovers. Oh, you thought I was going to forget about it? No, guys, trust me, was not going to forget about that. But obviously, I'm very partial to Yadier Molina. I think, and you and I have talked a lot about this, just how much Yadier controls the game behind the plate.
Yeah, no, I say the fear of not being able to take second and definitely can't take third base unless you got Pablo Sandoval standing in the batter's box. He's gonna see you. He's gonna see you take off immediately. I think Prince Fielder was lefty, so I'm like, I can't think of one person you could sit up on the right side. I'm not stealing. It's like I have a great 60 time. I'm not stealing. Mm-hmm. I'm not taking off for third base. Not with Yadier, not even now. I'll say Yadier Molina has probably been sitting on his couch doing just band exercises, still not trying to steal on him.
Right. I think, it always brings me back to that play that happened in preseason where, a guy, Yachty tried to pick him off at first, but, he did a little finger wag. And of course, Yachty just says, all right, we'll take second. Throws him right out. That's the plays that just make Yachty a legend. And, I'm glad he's playing one more year for us. It's great. Him and Wayno both.
He was done. I really thought he was going to be done. I was excited to see him walk away just so, people start stealing on the Cardinals. Y'all can see how it feels.
Have you seen the gap of how many there's a number of the fewest stolen bases since Yachty came into the league. And of course, obviously the Cardinals are number 1 on that list for obvious reasons.
Right.
But have you seen the gap between us and then the second fewest?
Yeah.
It's like 400 stolen bases. I'm like, whoa, okay. You think of how many runs that, saves in a season's time.
Yeah, that saves a lot. That definitely keeps, it keeps people from scoring from second, and then because he even keeps people's leads down from some going from first to third. He affects that as well. Just with his arm, he's stopping so much on the base path. And he's a wall. He's an absolute wall, not letting things get past him.
Mm-hmm.
So when you got a catcher like that behind you, it's really, really tough to watch Gary Sanchez, who can't frame a pitch and can't block, but can hit a ball 450 feet, and then also has a 1.67 pop time, but still can't catch a baseball.
I'll say, DJ, that actually wraps up all the questions I had for you. This is your time to shine. If you have a very hot baseball take that you want to make, I am here for it. And I'm sure the fans are too.
I got your hot take for you. 2024 Miami Marlins make the postseason.
It's not that hot. I see where you say, because the Marlins have struggled so much in the recent years.
And no. They're not going to just make the postseason. They're going to be the team in the postseason.
Okay. See, that's where it's hot. That's okay. I'm
talking 95 to 100 wins. The team.
Any reason?
They're not going to be I gotta hear why. Not a wild card. They're walking in big dogs. They're walking in.
Why?
Why is because of what I've seen. Because I was lucky enough when I was in Florida, I got to watch a game with them versus the Pirates, the young staff that they had just brought in from it was a lot of the guys are going AA and AAA. That Marlins farm system their pitching is so much farther along than all the other teams. Every guy was throwing 96 plus, and every guy had good curveballs, good changeups. They were hitting spots. I'm like, if those guys develop, even if they want to trade some of those guys away, they can get current stars now. And I got you another one. Juan Soto will be in the American League by the end. He'll be in the American League by the end of next season, because I know his contract. He doesn't have a contract, but he's going to get traded away. He's going to get traded by the end of the 2022 deadline.
You know what's funny is my co-host Matt actually made that same prediction that Juan Soto is going to get traded from out of DC, but he didn't say he was going to the AL. So that's a different one.
Oh yeah, he's going to the American League.
So
I don't think he's going to the Yankees. I think he's going to end up at a team. He's going to end up somewhere like he's going to probably end up in the Central. Honestly, he might end up with the Guardians. The Guardians. I could see that. That happen.
Our good friend Jacob Klukas just loved when they changed their name to the Guardians.
I know he did. That's a
he
great
loved
name.
it so much.
Not a bad name though.
It's not. It's just his reaction is just what made me so. It's like what keeps me cracking up about it. But yeah, so that's okay. The hot takes. Juan Soto is going to be in the AL, and of course, the big one is that the Miami Marlins are going to be a 2024 powerhouse in the MLB postseason. That I like it. You know, I respect it, and I think that will be, if it does happen and comes to fruition, that's going to be what Derek Jeter needs to happen to like regain credibility in the front office, because I'm a great player, but you know he's made some very questionable moves.
He's got to get rid of this team here, sir. He's got to sell that away, because I feel so bad. I love Derek Jeter, man. I love him to death. But
really, a Yankees fan loves Derek Jeter? No, and I never guessed that. Never.
Oh man, he did the Yankees a favor with giving them Giancarlo Stanton with basically for nothing. Like, man. He did that. I know he did that just because they called him up and they're like, "Come on, Derek, no, you got to do it for us. You know, you got to do it for us.
Do it one time. You got to." Remember those 4 World Series teams you were on. Come on.
Exactly.
Help us out. Help us win some more.
It was either Posada or it had to be CC Sabathia that got on the phone and called him. Those are the only 2 people I know could get on the phone and call him and be like this. I like that boy Stanton. I like him. Come on, let's see him in some pinstripes. They're the only ones I know that could have called him and got him to do it.
Man, you love to see it. But anyways, that's all the time we have for today. I want to thank DJ again for coming on the show. But that obviously, as always, like and subscribe to the Less is More Sports podcast channel. And in the comment section, tell us what you like, what you didn't like. And be sure to follow the social media platforms on Facebook and Twitter. And I want to, again, thank you again, DJ, for coming. Always love talking baseball with you, my guy.
Thank you for having me, man.
All right, we are out.
Mm-hmm.